am Sequoia Hood with Spot on Sports, and this is My Point Exactly. Today I am joined by three special guests. We have Jermaine. How are you, Jermaine?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm fine. We have John. How are you, John?
I'm doing well. I'm good.
And we have our newbie, Mr. Trey. What's going on, Trey?
I'm doing good. How are you doing yourself?
I'm doing fine. I just want to trying to figure things out. Are you guys ready to start this debate for today?
Yep. Let's
Definitely.
get it.
Definitely.
Let's get it.
All right. So the first topic at hand, we're going to talk a little bit about our high school athletes, our top athletes, basketball, maybe even football. But should these top recruits consider HBCUs as an option in the future? And we can start off with you, John.
I would say that they should consider HBCUs, but I think ultimately it comes down to what's the best decision for that prospect.
Yeah.
I don't think that we should pressure these high school athletes to go to HBCUs. And I get ultimately that, the ultimate goal is to kind of uh, bring these star kind of black athletes to HBCUs and give us the power back. But I don't know if we have the platform and we're ready for all of these star players to go to HBCUs. I don't know if we can offer them the same opportunities right now that the North Carolinas, the Dukes, and all these other schools can, or even in football. So I think we have to get to a place to where HBCUs are built up and funded enough to where we can provide the same opportunities, or at least almost equal opportunities that some of these other schools do. But I definitely think that the top high school prospects should consider going to HBCUs, but I don't think that we should
Mhm.
pressure them to make that decision. And I don't want to see these high school athletes make that decision because of what's going on. Like I said, whatever is best for them. If we're talking about basketball, specifically Mikey Williams, in 3 years, who knows what things will look like. He may still decide to go to one of the top, power conferences. I mean, he said might or maybe, or he may decide to go to the G League, and forego college altogether. So I don't necessarily think that HBCUs are the best option for all prospects, but I would like to see one day where HBCUs are considered equally the same way that the Dukes, the North Carolinas, the UTs, the Alabamas, the Clemsons are. Hopefully, one day. I don't know if we're there yet, but hopefully it gets to the point to where you would consider HBCUs equally as these Power Five conference schools.
Okay, how about you, Trey?
I think for the culture to consider it, it would be good. But I think it's more likely in basketball and football because football is a three year decision. And, I know a lot of kids like Kayvon Thibodeau who went to Oregon. He did take a visit to FAMU, but in the end he did pick Oregon. But in basketball, like you were only there for 1 year, and they also like it's easier to get exposure, get your face out there, and it would help. But also, like John said, you got to compete with the G League because to get the top of the top, now the NBA is they're trying to pay kids straight out of high school. So I think it's more realistic to get like the 3 stars, like the mid school, get them to pick the school HBCUs over schools like Wichita State, over schools like Gonzaga. Like we got to beat them first, and then see the type of kids do well, and see how the HBCUs do with those kids to try to convince the 5-star kids to go to those HBCUs.
That
Well, I
makes
want
sense.
to say all it takes is one. That's all I want to say. All I want to say is all it takes is one. One superstar kid. Say for instance, if Zion, for instance, if Zion would have went to Howard instead of Duke, imagine that. Imagine all the hype, all the money Howard University will receive. I feel like all it takes is that one kid to show that okay, I can go to this HBCU compared to this university if I do want to go to college instead of going to the G League and getting paid. If I do decide, hey, I do want to take the college experience, they can choose that HBCU and still end up in that final result of being a first round pick or a second round pick in the NBA draft without going to those major universities. Because at the end of the day,
It's
the
the
skill
talent.
is gonna get you to the league. It's not gonna be because I was on Gonzaga or because I was on Duke roster. Yeah, you made it to Duke, but there's a lot of Duke players that never make it to the NBA or don't succeed as well. So like again, I kind of agree with Trey in basketball. I think it'll be successful, and I think it still can work in these young up and coming athletes' favor if they did consider the HBCUs comparing to football because, like he said, it was a 3 year versus a 1 year thing. But all it takes is one kid in basketball to show that, hey, I can still be the number one pick even though I went to this little small school. I mean, if you look at anybody like Damian Lillard, the guy, somebody like him or CJ McCollum, they didn't go to no major schools, but they're still big time players in the league. And like I said, it just takes one athlete to show that it doesn't matter what college you go to, you still can make it to the NBA as your dream.
Absolutely, Jermaine. I totally agree with you on that because at the end of the day, it's about the guy's talent and the skill set. And also with the new rules set in place, I don't know if it was to apply this upcoming season, but with the NCAA being able to pay out these athletes now, I think that will be also a contributing factor as well. So HBCU wouldn't be so bad, but I don't know if your big schools like your Dukes may pay out more because of jersey sales and etc. But it does only take that one. So if they do have a top 3 recruit or a top 5 recruit, and they go to, say, about 2 or 3 of them go to a HBCU, it raised the bar. It sets a different standard because at the end of the day, it's about their talent. So you guys agree?
I don't agree that all it takes is one, because I think that there's so many factors that go into making a college decision. And you have a lot of people that grow up idolizing, these certain colleges. If I would have had my dream, I ended up going to HBCU, but if I would have had my dream, I would have played football at the University of Texas. And I don't think anything.
But what does that dream come from? From you watching other people that look like you that's playing for that school. But if you see another person that look like you that's just as good, well, that's super good, that's a Hall of Famer or something like that went to HBCU, you look at the HBCU in the same light.
I understand that, and once again, like I said, I'm gonna preface this with me being, I'm an HBCU graduate. We have,
yeah.
And you're an HBCU graduate as well. But I also think, like, we have to be realistic that right now, there's just the HBCUs and the way they're structured. I don't know if they can compete for these top prospects. Like you talked about, the facilities, the amenities, the earning potential, the endorsements, the sponsorships, all of those things that Duke, North Carolina, and these big schools can offer. HBCUs just don't have that capability right now. It's not a knock on HBCUs. There's just a difference. There's a difference in funding. There's just a difference in exposure, TV, marketing, all of that. Like that's why I said there's so many factors. It's not just as simple as Mikey Williams is the best player in the nation and he went to Howard. So now the best player in the next class is going to go to FAMU. Like, I just don't think it's that simple. Like I said, there's so many factors drawing these kids either to these big schools or to the G League, specifically in basketball. So, like I said, I would like for it to get to a point to where these schools are on an equal playing field. And you don't have to look at going to a HBCU as a lesser decision than going to a PWI. But not a PWI. That was completely wrong chance. We're talking about these top Power 5 conferences. I'm so sorry, excuse me. But I right now, I don't think that they're on an equal playing field. And so I also think it's unfair, because when I look at specifically the Mikey Williams case, there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders now. Like, there's a lot of responsibility on his shoulders just by making those statements. In 3 years, people are going to expect him to enroll at an HBCU. So what happens when he ultimately still decides on Duke or still decides on North Carolina, or decides to go to
backlash for sure,
or still decides to go to the G League? That's why I said, like, he said might, or he said maybe, So, his mom went to Hampton. He said he's always thought about it. But like Trey said, we had Josh Christopher. He took a visit at Howard. He ended up at Arizona State. He talked about the player from Oregon who visited at FAMU, but he ultimately ended up at Oregon. I just don't think HBCUs are on a level playing field right now with these top 5 power conferences. So I don't agree that all it takes is one top prospect to go to a school, because there's so many factors drawing kids away from HBCUs.
To piggyback on what John said, like, growing up, I had my dream too. I was been playing football at Texas. Like, that's what I grew up seeing. And then, like, the whole paying thing, like the Texas recruiting director, Brian Carrington, he went to U of H. He put out a tweet like a couple weeks ago, and it said, once the kids start be paying for likenesses, their quarterback will be projected to make $1 million. Like, $1 million for a college kid. And that's not from playing football. That's just from his likeness, his interaction on Twitter, and all that stuff. And I'm pretty sure what helps him, because he's the quarterback of Texas. Like John said, until HBCUs are on the same level playing field, on and off the field. Like, if the SWAC was like a Power 5 conference and they could play for national championships, then you'll see more kids going that route, because it's a level playing field. Like I said, basketball be the easier route because the SWAC, everybody get a bid in a big tournament. In football, only 4 teams, and they barely let a group of 5. They barely let U of H play for a championship. So, like Mikey Williams, like John said, he gonna have a lot of pressure on that statement he said, and I just hope like when it's that time that we don't just because he don't go there, we don't just eat him alive. Like let the kid make the best decision for him and his family. That's why I said like play like Jermaine said like Damian Lillard, he went to Weber State and CJ McCollum. Them the type of players I feel like HBCU should be targeting. Like the kids going under the radar. Get them, groom them, and then you put them top 5, top 6 in the NBA. Then the higher prospects will look at you like, oh, see, you put Damian Lillard in the NBA. I'm pretty sure Weber State got a lot of pub because of Damian Lillard, or Lehigh got a lot of pub because of CJ McCollum, because Lehigh made the tournament and they beat Duke and they put them on the map. So we need so if we get that one kid like a Michael Williams, pick a Howard, make the tournament, beat Duke, then I think that will start the process. But like, I don't know. I just feel like one day they have to be on a level playing field. So that's just the problem, the playing field right now.
Definitely a big statement made by Mikey. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what his decision is. And like you said, he definitely will receive backlash if you don't choose a HBCU. But at the same time, you have to understand he's a big college. He'll be a big athlete, a big recruit, and these guys go to the big schools, honestly. And until we figure out a way to make HBCUs on an even playing field as these bigger universities, then it's kind of we're still pretty much riding on the same wave. But to move on onto the next topic, we're going to move to the NFL. There's been a lot of talk, and we've been talking a lot about Colin Kaepernick and bringing back up the reason why he kneeled and all of the controversy behind that. And you saw the the statement released by Roger Goodell with the NFL, and he's still yet to mention Colin Kaepernick. So where do we go from here, you guys, as far as the NFL goes and this whole movement? And
I'll
we can
start it
start.
off.
Okay, go ahead.
I think first and foremost, the NFL definitely owes Colin an apology, at least at like the smallest. I mean, personally, it should definitely. I think it should be a public apology. I wouldn't oppose a Roger Goodell actually holding a press conference just to acknowledge how wrong he was for drawing this negative attention to Colin, to not hearing him out, or for just condemning the players for fighting for what's right. And I know a lot of people are saying that they should offer Colin a job and he should be starting somewhere, which of course he probably can with all the quarterbacks in the league that they have now. But if I was Colin, I wouldn't want to work for a company that did me that kind of way, just knowing what I stood for and how I felt initially, and they told me that it was wrong. Given that I can forgive them, but I wouldn't want to work under them, knowing that they didn't agree with something that was bigger than their business or whatever was going on, as far as their money, I should say. So I mean, I think the NFL owes Colin a whole bunch, if you ask me. They did it totally wrong years ago to handle it horribly. And Roger Goodell, he gave a statement, but he, like you said, he didn't address Colin directly, and that's what's really, really missing.
One of the things I think, can the NFL address them directly, because they sued each other, and then I think they sued him for Colin sued him because they said I got y'all blackballed me. So if they apologize publicly, they be admitting that they blackballed him. And I was just wondering, can they admit that with the whole, because they settled in court. So with them apologizing, wouldn't they admit that they blackballed him, and wouldn't he be able to countersue him? That's one of the things I was wondering why they haven't apologized. But I do think he deserves an apology if they can. And like Jermaine said, I don't know if I would want to come back and play for somebody, because basically he needed them 4 years ago, but now they need him, because like basically all the cards in his hand. They need him because now they know he was right and they were wrong. So, and I'm petty, so I probably wouldn't go back. I'd be like, all right, y'all need me now, so I ain't coming back.
Yeah, so I definitely think the NFL owes Colin Kaepernick an apology. Like Malcolm Jenkins said, unless you say his name, we all know who you're referring to, but unless you say his name, to me, it's not genuine. Like he said. And, I want to talk about, like Malcolm Jenkins said, they've already donated money. They've created causes. They brought in Jay-Z, whatever that did. We still haven't heard from him. But, they've done all of this. What I want to see the NFL do is forget apologies, forget statements. I want to see them address really the racist structures that are currently in the NFL in place. We have a Rooney Rule in place, which is really looked as a stopgap. They're interviewing non-white head coaching candidates, Hispanic and Black, just to say they interviewed them instead of really giving them jobs. The league is 75% Black. We have I think one Black GM or two Black GMs and like 3 or 4 Black head coaches. So, and you have these white coaches that are getting opportunities. You look at Eric Bieniemy for the Chiefs, Super Bowl winning offense, the best offense in the league the last couple of years. He's the offensive coordinator. He can't get a job opportunity. You look at Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. They had the best defense in the league last year. That defensive line was crazy, and he can't get a job. But then you look at somebody like Joe Judge, who's the special teams coordinator for the Patriots, and he gets a job with the Giants. So there's racist structures in the NFL. So apologies, statements, and all of that really don't mean much when you're still disparaging African Americans in your corporation, in your company. The owners haven't speak out. They're still aligned with Trump. So the NFL has a lot to do, regardless if they apologize to Colin Kaepernick or not. The real apology to Colin Kaepernick is creating opportunities
Doing
and
the
safe
right
spaces for
thing.
people that look like him that don't play on the football field.
Absolutely, John. I totally agree with you. Honestly, if Roger Goodell would just acknowledge Colin Kaepernick, say his name, he don't even have to admit that, yeah, we blackballed you, but just acknowledge, hey, we understand why you were kneeling in 2016 or whatever year that was, and just acknowledge it, and then you could have went on. But yes, definitely have to put action forth. There's a lot of racial disparities in the NFL, which it kind of just put the light on it. Is more than just a surface level problem. It's the entire structure of the NFL, like you mentioned too, as well, John. So I think they definitely have a lot to do when it comes to not even just proving to us, but just pretty much putting their money and their action where their mouth is at. Because you can apologize all day, but until we start seeing, the real changes, then it really doesn't mean much.
I feel like
But
until my bad.
but honestly, I don't know what our players would do if they don't change. You think they'll sit out a season? Probably not. I'm not sure.
They they
Uh,
they haven't even gotten guaranteed contracts yet, so they not sitting out
I,
Yeah,
f-
absolutely.
nothing.
I feel like to piggyback on what John said, in order to get more black coaches and more black GMs, I feel like we need at least one black owner because I think a lot of these white owners are hiring people that look like them, that they can identify with. Like a lot of these white owners, when a black man come into the room for interview, like they probably just get a token interview because they don't identify with the man. They don't come from the same background, and it takes a lot. It takes an open-minded person to give that black man a job, and like we all know there's white privilege in this world, so they can relate to each other, and that's a privilege of theirs. So until we need at least one owner. I know a lot of people, a lot of black men like Diddy and Steph Curry. They try to buy us Carolina Panthers, but if we get a not white owner, a black owner in the up top, then I feel like we can get more black GMs and head coaches. But I know they're about to update the Rooney Rule. Well, now you got to interview 2 black men for GMs and head coaching jobs. But I don't know if that's gonna work. If they're gonna help because at the end of the day, I feel like the owner gonna pick somebody that look like them that they identify with.
That's just another, like I said, it's just another stopgap. If they got to interview 2 now, or if they got to interview 3, it's crazy that we're talking about incentivizing teams with draft picks to hire a black head coach. It's ridiculous. And just to to go off of what you said, Trey, the NFL is reflective of our society. You talk about all of these white owners. These white owners aren't going to sell the team to an African American. You know what I mean? Regardless if they have the
Hmm.
money or not. They, like I said, they're one, the owners are in line with Trump. 2, the owners, like they're privately owned corporations. These NFL teams are privately owned corporations. They're passing it down within their families or to their friends or to their groups. They are going to keep it within their circle. They're not going to sell the team. Like you said, you talked about Diddy, Steph Curry. The money was there. They are going to sell the team within their circles to keep the power structure that's in the NFL in place. The problem isn't
Absolutely.
that we don't have a seat at the table. The problem is that they won't give us a seat at the table.
Yep.
I agree.
It's
Me
like
too.
it's pretty much politics, and it's pretty much like a gang when it comes to, the head coaches, GMs, and well, owners. So yeah, they're gonna keep it within a family. You're definitely right about that. But it looks like we're just going to have to wait and see what happens, how the NFL will respond, and will they take action. I would like to thank you guys. Thank you, Trey. Thank you, John. Thank you, Jermaine, for joining us today. This was a really great conversation, and I appreciate y'all for joining us. You guys have any last words to say before we leave? Anybody?
No, I just want to say real quick, I know cancel culture is alive and well. Please, in 3 years, when Mikey Williams decides not to go to a HBCU, hopefully he does, but when he decides not to go to a HBCU in 3 years, let's not cancel him. Thank you. I just want to put that out there right now.
Great disclaimer. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment, follow us on Spot On Sports on any social media platform. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, I am Sequoia Hood, and this is Spot On Sports. Thank you.